My name is Dave Kozak. I run the marketing department here at Clockwork. How many, just want to make sure the audience here, who's the candidates here? Just this group here? And we got you don't count up there. I know. Well, welcome everyone. Hopefully today's been good so far. Lunch was good, right? Nancy's does a pretty good job, I think. Hopefully you guys had it. I don't know what that Panera order was for. Are you just feeding them all the time, Michael? Is that what it is? Is that our strategy? Just keep feeding them? Feed them till that's a good strategy if that works. Are we good to go? Okay, apparently we're good to go. Okay, again, my name is Dave Kozak. I've been with Clockwork for about just a little bit over a year now, and I came in from different industry altogether. I came in from the food business. I spent 20 plus years. I was a franchisee at one point in time, but I worked for McDonald's, I worked for Burger King, I worked for Dunkin' Donuts, and other, name your food place pretty much, and I spent some time there at some point in time. Transition into this industry has been really interesting. The reality though is it's about two things. One is about working with the franchisees and building the franchise system, but two, it's about customers, right? And changing customers' minds. So I don't care if it's food or getting them to use our product or service. At the end of the day, it's about marketing and it's about changing customer behaviors and trying to drive people to do something that you want them to do, right? So you're sitting there, you're here in this meeting, and I would assume if the reverse was true and I was sitting in your chair looking back at me, there's probably a few things you'd probably want to know about the things that we do. So what's our direction? Where are we going? Where are we taking these brands? What resources do we have to help back us up? Because this isn't just a one-man show. There's quite a few folks in here, but from a marketing perspective, what resources do we have to help and support our franchise system? And then more importantly is beyond resources, what tools do we have available to all of you? Might have heard mention, whether it's John or maybe Michael talked about an ad fund. I'll explain what we're doing with the ad fund. And then lastly, I'd like to give a little bit of a sneak under the hood of the car a little bit and let you know some of the other things that we're working on, kind of the what's on the horizon piece. Okay? Sound good? And if you guys got any questions, feel free to just fire it off. Keep this as open as possible. Our vision, our direction. It really comes down to this one sentence, kind of, I think, describes best in terms of where we're going. It's really to build three best-in-class, independent national brands that leverage each other and our customers to grow our overall business, right? There's a lot in there, there's a lot of things, but really to me it's about building the brands individually. Our brands, if you think about it, well, it sounds like they're all the same. The reality is they're all a little bit different, and we've got to think about our brands a little bit differently. We're in different footprints, we're in different geographical space, we have differing needs, so we can't treat them all the same. So the trick on the marketing perspective is how do we have sort of that halo, but at the same time, how do we make sure that we grow each one of our individual brands? The other piece about this that I underlined here that I want to spend just a minute or two talking about is this whole notion of building to a national brand. You heard Chris earlier talking about some of the other examples that he was showing. Those are all big national brands, right? Those are all big national companies, and when he was throwing out some of their slogans, you knew them, right? You recognize them. Why? Because they're top of mind. So that's really where we want to go, right? We want to make our brands top of mind to our customers. We're really, as smart as we think we are, we're really not that smart to time our marketing exactly to that time of need when that thing happens in the customer's house. Boy, if we were that good, it would be awesome, be able to market to them exactly when their pipe breaks or when their electricity, the switch doesn't work. But, so if you can't do that, what else can you do? You can build top of mind awareness so when that event does happen that they think of us first, right? So that's this whole notion of being national, and there's more benefit to that. On the short-term benefits, it's about the things that we talked about. It's about creating awareness for that consideration for that consumer when the event happens, and we're driving that brand awareness, which then ultimately leads into demand creation, right? Which is ultimately what you guys want. You want the phone to ring. Also, by acting as a national brand, we can pool our resources together and be even stronger. I mean, if you had $1 and you had $1 and you had $1, we threw all of our dollars in a pot. Now all of a sudden we have a heck of a lot more than just your individual dollar, right? And think of the brands that I came from, the McDonald's, the Burger Kings, that's all what they did, right? They all pooled their resources. And now all of a sudden when you pool the resources, now you got a pretty big pool to be able to do something with. Right? And you think of the industry that we operate in, it's very fragmented business out there, and it's really easy for us to create scale by leveraging our size, because we are the leaders. By leveraging our size, we're able to do that, which helps us negotiate better media rates. We were talking earlier about Yellow Pages, but it goes beyond that. This TV, it's radio, it's the other things that we're able to do by leveraging our size to go after the local competition. Then lastly, that helps feed into why you guys are here today, which is about driving healthy franchise growth, right? So things start to compound on themselves and it gets bigger in time over time, for sure. So that's short term, but there's some long-term benefit as well. And this slide is really tough to read, I know, but I'll explain it to you. This was, I share this a lot because I think that it does a really good job exemplifying the point about the long-term benefit of being a brand. This was a slide taken from a shareholders meeting at Coca-Cola. It's public information, so we can have access to it, but I think it does a really good job making the point. If you look at this bottom half of the Coca-Cola bottle, right? This represents the market value of what the sales of pure Coke would represent, right? So if you were to sell the company Coca-Cola purely based off nothing else but sales of volume of the product itself, the company would be a really healthy sale, about $50 billion. Big company, right? Huge. The difference, though, is when you add in the brand, all those things that Chris was talking to you about earlier, the brand value of what the brand represents, it's a $120 billion company. So the brand itself, the brand Coke, is actually worth more than the sales that it generates. Does that make sense? I think if I put it to you in a more relevant way, take this sub shop, right? What do you think has more value, this sub shop here or this sub shop here, right? Well, why, right? I saw your reaction. You're like, yeah, no kidding, Dave, right? Obvious. Well, why? Because it has the brand behind it. And that's sort of the same thing we're talking about here, right? So if we build that national brand, or when we become that, right? Now all of a sudden, if you go to succession plan your business or sell your business, this becomes a lot more attractive to sell to someone else than certainly that does, right? That kind of makes sense? Hope it does, right? It's about branding, building the brand, building that equity. I had time to use the analogy of what we used to have in the housing market, when you built equity in your house, but that became a really bad example with the economy and what happened to the housing market, so I had to go with a different analogy. But it was sort of the same thing with what the housing market used to be, right? You used to buy the home, you used to escalate in value, that home was worth something, then you could turn around and sell it. Sort of the same thing. Now let's talk about the second thing. The question you're probably asking, okay, Clockwork is great, got some good brands. What kind of support do we have? What do we have behind us? So I'll touch on each one of these, but we have a marketing team. We've got outside agencies that help us. We have field resources for our franchisees. And then we have a web tool that I'll share with you as well. First of all, from my team perspective, again, I lead the marketing department here. We have the team broken up into three areas. One is a field marketing team. It's led by a marketing director and 3 managers that are spread throughout the country. The director's in Minneapolis. We have 3 managers. One's in Philly, one is in Minneapolis, and the other one is in Houston. So they're out in the field with our franchisees. I also have a team dedicated, it says retail. What retail means in internal speak means our company operations. We have 20 plus company centers that we operate all 3 brands. So we've got about 29 representations of the brands in our 20 centers. So I have a team dedicated to that. I also have 3 additional people. One is a digital manager, which is solely dedicated to what it sounds like, all the digital space. Anything that regards to the web would be gone through him. I have a print manager, and that person, we do a lot of print marketing. That person is dedicated to negotiating and working with our print vendors and making sure we get our placements in the right spot and our rates that we need. And then lastly, we have an internal graphic designer. And what that person does is that person then keeps us on brand standards, creates all the materials and collateral that we use, in both from a retail perspective and we give out to our franchisees. So that's the team of folks that we have from a Clockwork perspective. Again, I talked about this, and this is more geared toward the franchisees. These are my regional managers. As I said, I've got 3 of them. We divide the country in 3 to kind of slice up the work, if you will. But these people are fantastic. We just brought this team on. This is new. Brought them on in Q4 of last year, I think. November, December is when they came on. But their primary role is to work with the franchisees, both in and outside ad fund periods, because there are a period of times on the ad fund that we will help guide spend. But they will work in and outside of the ad fund period and really become your consultant in the field. So they are a resource for you to call and bounce ideas off and, hey, what about this? But it's also a great way to share information and just give general guidance back to you. The other thing we have is a whole host of agencies that help us as well. We have a national brand agency called FKM that provides the overarching brand direction, brand strategy. You won't necessarily engage with them, but the things that we do, whether it's on television or radio or those kind of things, would be all born out of FKM. We also utilize a partner called Marquette on the Yellow Page side. Marquette is, if not the nation's largest, or if it's one of the top couple in the nation in terms of placing CRM and Yellow Page advertising. So we feel like we get good rates with those guys. They're also tied into our BuyMax program, so they're open for franchisees to use. They'll do an analysis. I was thinking about, you were saying something earlier about Yellow Pages in your market. It'd certainly be available for you to take a look at your area, give you some suggestions in terms of what would be best to help cover your area. The couple of other things we have a digital agency that we work with, both from an SEO and an SEM perspective, and they can help set up websites. We have websites that are templated for our franchisees, so we'll set you up and get you going on the internet if you don't have that. We also utilize CallCap for call tracking. I'm assuming you guys do some form of call tracking already. Yeah, I'm seeing some heads nod. Yeah. So we use that, make that available for franchisees. Print vendors, we use them all. We have relationships with all of them, whether it's Valpak, Velasas, also a company called Stochastic, which does our direct mail, but those are the other shared mail vendors that we do. And then lastly, you'll hear me talk a little bit more about this in a little bit, a company called Sapio, which manages our AMP website. And I'll talk to you more about what AMP means here in a minute. But those are just some of the outside resources we have. Sound good? Am I missing something? These are tools and resources for all of our franchisees to tap into. Now let's talk a little bit about the tools. So if you think about our tools, it starts first with the Clockwork marketing team. We develop, we set the list of things that we need. Then we go to our partner agency, FKM, that I mentioned before. They help take the needs and then create the strategic direction and provide the tools back to us. And then what we do, so we go from here to FKM, and then from here we take them to our AMP website. And I talked about AMP, and I'll spend a little bit more time on it, but it is, think of it like a library or a resource for all of our franchisees. So we take and we create templates, whether they're print templates, direct mail, shared mail, postcards, even radio and television, web content. Take all that and we load it into a website for franchisees to use. Once it's on the website, franchisees can pull it down. They can customize it with their own phone numbers, their own offers. But the good news is the shells, the templates are already done. They're in our branded look. If Chris were here, he would applaud this. He was talking about, brand consistency and building the brand logo and image, right? It's doing all that same thing because now we have all the templates and everything already done for you, right? Everything from yellow pages to postcards. And if it's not there, and I'll share with you an example of what happens if it's not there, but if it's not there, I have a whole team behind me that can help create something that perhaps is missing. So here's just some examples of some of the things we do: postcards, print for newspapers, door hangers, Valpak, you name it, it's all loaded up there. We put it on the website. We develop new set of materials once a quarter. So every quarter we'll refresh this whole suite. You as a franchisee can jump onto that AMP website, change out certain fields with the offers to whatever you want them to be, maybe change the phone number or web address, what have you. But the good news is the shells, everything's already done, right? Sound good. How do you guys create ads today? You probably go to your Valpaks or to your vendors and ask them to create it, probably? Just a guess?
We don't do any of that.
You don't do anything like that. Okay. But if you did, I would imagine you'd probably just talk to your Valpak rep or your print rep and ask them to create something for you, I would imagine. Right? You're shaking your head probably.
How much input do we have into those ads?
How much input? As you can change the offers however you want, but my team will develop the shells of the templates and everything will be up and loaded for you. Okay?
And how quickly does that start? Let's say, you said it's done quarterly, so it would have to be at the end of the quarter.
Yeah, so what my team does is at the end of, I should say, prior to every quarter starting, we hold webinars, one per each one of the brands. And so we'll host a webinar and we'll go through each one of these and say, okay, Mr. Sparky webinar, we'll go through all the Mr. Sparky elements that are available for that quarter. We'll give you recommended tactics to go with it, offers, those kind of things. We'll give you recommendations on what that might be. Host that on the webinar prior to the quarter starting, and then we'll show you where on our website these materials are posted so you can go get them. And on our website, we have it laid out. It's pretty simple. We have the year, so if you put 2013, and then it has each one of the quarters broken out. So if you think, okay, well, where am I? I want something for fourth quarter. So you just click on the button fourth quarter. And when you click on that button, it'll give you all the materials that were developed to support fourth quarter. Okay? So we'll try to teach and learn, and if you missed the webinar, we record them. We post it out there for franchisees to go back and listen to. If they missed it, that's fine. If not, then that would be an opportunity for the franchisee to reach out to the field marketing manager to say, hey, I need a little bit of help. Can you help me? I need a postcard or something. Does that make sense?
Dave,
Yeah.
to follow up with a piece of information, as part of your onboarding, you are basically given access to this, password protected, the day after you join. Just to kind of follow with the sense of immediacy as to which you could conceivably get in and start accessing something.
Good.
And just a quick question, the franchises then, even though it's the fourth quarter, they could go and use anything in the database historically?
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like you have to use...
Oh, it doesn't disappear. That's a good point. It doesn't, once we post it up there, we just have it broken out by quarters recommendation where you want to go. But if you want, oh, I like that ad that we used back in April, you can certainly go back. It's like a library system. You can go back to Q2 and pull up those materials. They don't disappear. Once we create this set of tools, it sits out there for any franchisee to dial in. That actually happens quite a bit where franchisees will go back and maybe they found a piece that they liked or something, they'll go back and reuse pieces. So we do this once a quarter. Like I said, we update all these materials and we hold the webinars, bless you, hold the webinars with the franchisees once a quarter. The other thing we do to help franchisees, the other area is really at the local level with grassroots or public relations. So in addition to all the other things, we create a suite of materials every month to keep things fresh. We call it grassroots marketing. It's really local PR and local extensions. So we'll create a theme each month, and we'll build a program around the theme. I think I just saw the one for November. Our team is working on it now. It's something to do with Military Family Month. So we'll create a theme around Military Family Month. We'll develop a whole suite different suite of materials, whether it's postcards, coupons, flyers, those kind of things, all to support that monthly themed element. And what's really cool about this, what I really like about this, is we provide PR elements to our franchisees to help them. So specifically what I'm talking about there is we'll create a press release that's already written that talks about that monthly event. And then all the franchisee has to do is simply put in their name. You know, it's basically put your name here, you know, and the franchisee simply drops in the name. The press release is already written. We give you a how-to pitch, how to take that then to your local mediums, you know, your radio stations, your newspapers, those kind of things. Tell you how to engage with them, kind of the do's and don'ts, and say, here you go. Because if you think about it, if you ever picked up a newspaper, especially some of the local papers, you ever pick it up, you ever look who actually writes those stories? Most of those stories aren't written by a local writer like they used to be. Most of those stories are written by AP writers. And what that really means is that those newspapers are looking for content. They have a product that they need to sell every day, so they need their content, you know, they need help, you know, filling those pages. We're just simply given the stories already written for them. And so all the franchisee has to do literally is fill in their name and then take it down to their local stations. But we'll develop this in addition to the other things that I mentioned. This is freshened up every single month. Just adds to the suite of materials that we do for our franchisees. The other thing that I mentioned is, boy, if that isn't enough, then, you know, what happens if there was something out there that I could have used or I wanted to use? Dave, can you help us? So I share with you as just one example. Franchisee came to us a couple months ago and said, boy, you know, all that other stuff is really good, but what I get killed with by our competition is really nice, high quality HTML emails, which is really just really high quality, you know, nice pictures, graphics, those kind of things, getting killed by the local guys around emails. And email marketing is obviously relatively inexpensive. It's a way to reach, you know, certainly your databases. So he said, well, boy, if that's a need in our system, how do we help you and help the system develop it? So we created this system, which I think is just fantastic. It's really simple to use. Franchisee just simply clicks on whatever brand that he or she is looking for, and through a series of drop-down questions, you know, what offer do you want? And there's a whole section. You click on the offer you want, and you kind of go down. And as you're doing that, you are actually, behind the scenes, you're actually writing the HTML code that goes with it. So in a matter of just minutes, you can produce a high quality, you know, fantastic looking, very professional looking HTML email that you literally have thousands and thousands of iterations of, because you can simply change out those elements in a matter of seconds. And then all you have to do, go back to this, is take that HTML code and give it to your providers, or just simply drop it in. The code's already written. And when you do that, you get something that looks like this. And it's just fantastic. And I share that with you only because it's just one of those that I thought was a great idea, bubbled up from a franchisee to say, hey, Dave, we're missing this. Can you help us? And it's certainly something I think that turned out really well. It's a nice thing for our franchisees. We actually use it quite a bit on our company operations as well. So good stuff, and just an example of the things that we can do when we have the resources behind us. All right. The other thing I promised to talk about, which is this thing called an ad fund. And some of you guys may, I don't know, did John mention that? That we have an ad fund, maybe not at this point. So this is something that all those other brands that I talked about, where I came from, this is how the other brands really leverage their strengths. So earlier this year, we introduced something called the DMA, and that's not something I made up, right? This is an industrial thing. And it's really driven by media. And the simplest way to do it is to get in your car, turn on the radio, and start driving one direction or another out of town. And one thing you know happens is what? That at some point that radio station will kind of fade out and end, right? There's an end to that radius of which those mediums reach, right? And every other franchise brand does this. So it's not a new thing, but if you take, and that's called the DMA, by the way, or what that creates. It's a dominant market area. It's really defined by the Nielsen, which is a rating system that rates TV and radio, right? So what this is just a simple example of the Tampa market, and this blue line represents what all the counties that are in that particular DMA. So again, using that car radius thing when you turn on the radio, if you drive any one of those directions, you're going to get radio. But once you get outside those blue lines, that's when it starts dropping off, right? And that's where you'll get picked up by a different DMA. So at some point, the channel will switch from something to something else. So in this case, it'll go from Tampa to Orlando if you start heading east, right? So what happens then is you work with the franchisees, back to my example of everyone kind of pooling in, throwing in $1 or so into the pot. In this case, you have 5 one-hour franchisees. Those franchisees, instead of acting independently, start pooling their resources. Now all of a sudden, instead of $1 times 5, you actually have $5. And when you put those $5 in a pot, you can really start doing some things from a marketing perspective in terms of, you know, being able to buy TV or being able to buy radio and doing the things that you couldn't do as an independent operator, right?
What happens if you're in an area where there are no other franchisees?
Yeah, and we have that quite a bit. So we'd have to take a look at the individual markets. We have some where we have a guy, I'm thinking of John McCarthy, Omaha, Nebraska. He owns all 3 brands in the market, and he owns the entire DMA. And in which case, we'll still do the same thing. We'll collect, but we'll buy on his behalf, right? And I'll show you what that means here in a minute. But he'll still contribute into the ad fund. But we'll run the ad program like I'll describe here in just a second. So we started this ad fund in 2013, and basically the most simplest way to look at it is this. We have a total of the dollars coming in. The dollars get broken into 2 buckets, if you will. The first bucket is what I call the brand fund, and then the second bucket goes back to the local market, okay? The brand fund, think of the brand fund as the kind of that engine, if you will, or the engine that keeps the car driving. So all those things that I talked about, having a field marketing staff, being able to create creative, doing research, having the agency, having that support is all funded by the ability to have this, right? And that's why I said that these are the franchisees' resources for them. So all the things that we produce at this level should be with the franchisees in mind. The second portion of the ad fund then gets redirected back to the market through those agencies and through the field marketing staff. And we'll buy on their behalf. And by pooling the dollars nationally or even regionally, we are able to buy more efficiently and more effectively than the local franchisee. Because, listen, most franchisees that I've met are probably, and I used to be a franchisee, so I can say this, are probably not the best media negotiators or media buyers and understand how to work with local TV stations or radio stations. Some probably are fabulous. By and large, most franchisees, that's really not what they became a franchisee to do, to become a media buyer. But that's why you have agencies and professional resources behind you to do that, right? And so that's why, if you're in a market, that's why this will end up benefit you. And I'll share this with you. If I were to make it really ultra simple, the simplest way I would say is for every $1 that we collect, we told the franchisees in 2013, we would hold about 14 cents would go to the brand fund, and the 86 cents would go back into the market. Okay, it's just a really simplistic, using just as $1 as an example. What I told the franchisees, and I stood in front of them and I said, listen guys, my commitment to you is to over-deliver. Back to your question, why would it be good? Because I can prove that I'm going to over-deliver in our ability, because I know we have professional people doing these things, that I can deliver more value as a system than what we're able to do on our own. Okay?
I understand what you're saying.
Yep.
My question is, I'm
Yep.
now in my own market where there's no other franchisees
Yeah.
close proximity to me.
Yep.
So I'm the only one contributing in my DMA
Mm-hmm.
Well,
to that.
George, Long Island is next to you, so, I mean, would Long Island and border Connecticut?
We really don't share the same media.
I don't know.
I would have to look at your individual case, to be honest with you, see where your area is.
My question.
Yeah.
My question is, so I'm the only
Yeah.
guy in this radius, in
Yeah.
the DMA. So it's only my dollar going, and it's not
Mhm.
$5 more.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what we're going to, I'm just trying to get.
Yep.
you know,
No, and that's a fair question. So yes, the dollars would, and if you were to, if you're that, I'll use John McCarthy. So John McCarthy, the franchisee out in Omaha, Nebraska. I don't know your situation. You might be right. There might be other guys. I'm not really sure. But let's just say you're John McCarthy in Omaha. He contributes just like every other franchisee. The difference is that, again, John is arguably, he will tell you, he's not a media buyer. He doesn't understand the media channels. So by able to do this, we're able to do it more efficiently, more effectively. Because you think about it, the agency buys not just for our 3 Clockwork brands. The agency that we have has multiple clients. So when they come in and they say, okay, I've got, in this case, I know they have Mattress Firm as one of their big clients, Waste Management is one of their big clients. So now all of a sudden they have these other clients to back them up. And then when they go into Omaha, they can say, listen, I got Mattress Firm, I got Waste Management, I got these Clockwork brands, and I got all this money. Do you want a piece of it? And it becomes a much stronger negotiation. So in the end, even though he's a single franchisee in that market, it helps him because now he has the power of the agency and all the other clients that they have behind him. Does that make sense? I think I'm answering your question, but I'm not sure.
Kind of, sort of.
Okay.
Because when you went to that one that showed Sarasota, and you had
Yeah,
the DMA
yeah,
broken down there.
yeah.
If you only have one of those little
Yeah.
blue things.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's nothing else around it. So
Mhm.
the fund that's there is only gonna be that one guy who.
That's
has the
correct.
blue, that's gonna be his
That,
fund.
you're right.
And it's gonna service his DMA.
Right.
So basically, if I'm in an area where I don't share anything, okay,
Okay.
then that means it's only gonna be my one, I'm just going.
Yes, yeah,
My one.
yeah, correct.
But your $1 will be enhanced by the creative as well as by the scale to give you an
No,
additional.
I understand.
But you're right. I wouldn't take dollars from Tampa and put them in if that's.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So-
no, I wouldn't do that.
so
Right.
if you're in a
Not
market
yet.
that's-
Not yet. And I say not yet because our vision, remember my vision statement where we're going, is we want to be a national brand. So at some point, and we're really close actually, really close to being able to buy national television. And when we do that, then all of the funds would go into the national pool and we would be on true national TV. That's like the long-term vision where we're going. Today it's not like that. Today, we have to keep it regional or kind of at that local level. But I reserve the right to say hopefully soon, and I say hopefully because I give you a real example. I came from Dunkin' Donuts. I said I worked there for the last 6 years, 7 years. When I was there, we went through a transition from doing this, the DMA work, to going national. The first year we went national, we bought national cable. The second year we bought true national network television. It was when we started with the national cable, then went national broadcast, is really when we saw the brand take off, like exponentially take off. Because what happens is when you buy national television, it's what the word sounds like, right? It's everywhere. So in markets even where Dunkin' Donuts didn't have a presence, now all of a sudden you see advertising for this thing called Dunkin' Donuts. Well, wait a minute, what the heck is it? So then all of a sudden it became a good thing for people like John and Michael and the franchise sales team to say, hey, listen, do you want in? Because you're getting this TV in your market. And it just fed itself. And then all of a sudden we saw the brand exponentially grow. So I see this happening for our brands soon. Soon is that we're close on 1 hour, kind of to that tipping point where it becomes more efficient to buy national than it does to do this. So I tell you that story only because I say that we go back to that vision statement that soon we will go to that national piece.
If you
Good.
have I'm just curious, if you have a map, is it like all standardized where a DMA market is the same for any industry? Is it just a DMA market?
Yeah, that is not a Clockwork thing or a direct energy thing. It is governed by Nielsen. Nielsen is the kind of that third party, if you will, the rating source that does it. And what they do is they measure whether it's television viewership or radio listenership in every single county, and they update that every quarter. They update what their list is, but it generally doesn't change much. If you think about it, a TV station today is a TV station, what it is.
Small state like Connecticut have different DMA markets.
Yeah, for sure.
It
Yeah.
kind of works like Google.
Yeah, kind of.
Because Google
Yeah.
has, like, I have a territory. and
Sure.
That's my territory. Now, that interlopes into Long Island, but there's a great, you wouldn't want to have to swim across to get from one market to
Sure.
the other. If I got calls from Long Island, I would be paying for clicks.
Right.
that Would be totally.
Wouldn't get you anywhere.
Right,
Yeah,
so that's what I
Yeah.
understand the concept with the DMA,
Yep.
and that's the way I'm relating it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. No, and so yeah, the whole DMA thing, everyone uses it. It's the best way to do it, right? Because if you think about, again, go to my little map of Tampa and all those guys, it wouldn't make sense for someone from Tampa to pay into, somewhere else, to your Long Island example, right? You want to pay into where the business is, and it only makes sense. So this is something we started. I promised, like I said, is going back to the slide before, I said that we were going to get the kind of the promise that I had to the franchisees was to over deliver. We did our first ad fund window in the system in April of this year. It started in April. Just some quick highlights on the results. Saw a 10% lift in comparable sales meaning same store this year versus same store last year. Saw a 10-point lift in not just over year, but over trend. And what we saw was Q1 was positive, pretty good for us in Q1. We were 10 points even higher than where we were coming into Q1 trend. So basically what I'm saying is we had a fantastic Q2. This point is really good, back to your point, sir, about kind of what's the benefits to me. We saw 40% added value, meaning incremental media value back to our franchisees, just through the power of negotiations. So even if that John McCarthy case in Omaha, we were able to demonstrate, look, by having an agency and having, their other clients behind them to negotiate, to help leverage what they got as well, we were able to get 40% more value. And then the last piece, I like to show this number because, again, it goes back to that point of keeping ourselves top of mind, right? And gosh, I wish I could be that smart and have that ad show up exactly when the toilet is broken and you need to call a plumber. But in absence of that, how do you do that? You keep the brand top of mind, and how do you keep top of mind is you put us in front of customers. And through the first ad fund window, we had over 1 billion branded impressions, which is a huge number. That's not a typo. It's a real number. So it's fantastic. Our brands are getting in front of a branded impression is basically a set of eyeballs hitting your ad, whether it's on the internet, on TV, on radio, whatever. It's just how many times that our ads were in front of people.
Looks just like Google.
It's huge, and I'm thrilled. I love to share that number only because my job is to build top of mind brand awareness and bring our brands to that national stage. The bigger I can make this number, the happier I'm going to be, because I think we're going to win when we drive impressions and keep our brand top of mind. Okay, last, and I don't know how we're doing on time, but we're probably close. Just a couple little snippets. I promised you I'd give you a little sense of. You all right? You want some water? Oh, you got water. You're all right. I told you I'd give you a little snippet on some of the things that are out there on the horizon. So just a couple of points here. Direct energy protection plants. I don't know if Cameron's going to talk about this maybe a little bit later. Okay, so you're going to hear more about this, but we're working closely with our sister company, HWA, and direct energy protection plans. This will be a game changer for us. So I'll leave you with that little bit of kind of that teaser, if you will, and let Chris or whoever it might be touch on that here in a little bit. Another one that's big, it's nice having a big parent like Direct Energy. They're able to back us in this. We just started testing lease as an option. I don't know how many of your customers that you work with have challenges today relative to finding financing, particularly on big jobs and on replacement jobs. This is something that I think is going to be big for us. We just rolled this out in a couple of our centers, and we're going to start expanding it. We started it in Houston and in Indy. We're going to roll it out to the entire state of Texas soon. So that's really big, and I think that's going to be a big deal. In fact, some of our we rolled it first in 1 hour, and some of our plumbing franchisees are like, "Hey, when are we going to roll that? Can we get that product on the plumbing side as well?" So that's pretty exciting, and that only comes with having such a wonderful parent, with deep pockets parents that allows us to do that. The other big project that I've got in the works is my team. I told you I have a digital manager, outside resources. We are in a full-on redesign of our web presence. This is going to be great. By year's end, we'll have completely redesigned all of our branded websites, which will also trickle down to our franchisees. Remember I said I had a digital agency that we use for franchisees. This will be able to be rolled right into our franchisees as well. If they want to use it, great. If not, a lot of our franchisees, not a lot, some of our franchisees have their own websites, great. I'll just offer this up to them if they want to resurface their sites and use it. But this is a really big, exciting project I'm thrilled about. If anyone's been on our sites today, they were probably good about 3 or 4 years ago. And just like anything in technology, we all get new cell phones every couple years because something's changed. Same issue that we're having on the websites. They got a little dated, a little stale, just being honest. And we, so happy to say that that project will be done within a year, where we'll have all new sites. Another project that we're working on with our direct energy partners is a smart thermostat. I think some of our competitors, I see it now just about everywhere. Comcast is even delving into this one. We've got to get into this space, so we're partnering up with, again, our partners on the energy side of the business to roll a smart thermostat and start selling things in bundles. Whether you sign up for energy, we can hook you up with a smart thermostat, so now we can monitor your energy use. We can control your thermostats. You can control your thermostats and monitor your energy uses at your house. And then last, I would be remiss to say, we're always looking for new expansion opportunities and cross-sell opportunities with our folks at DE, whether it's cross-selling energy or some of our products, or certainly on their innovation team like the smart thermostat. They're a wonderful parent to have because they have a lot of resources and a lot of ways that they're looking at the business that is really smart with what we're doing, and it ties in nicely. So. It's always nice to have a big parent backing you to give you some of these other things that we wouldn't otherwise have. So I leave you with this, bottom line from a marketing perspective, and I drill this into our team. Our goal, my goal, is to help you build that long-term valued asset. Remember that Coke bottle or that Subway example? Is to help you really build that long-term valued asset, all the while, help you build short-term, gains, and help you drive your business more effectively day in and day out. So it's kind of that combination of both short and long-term. So that's kind of what we're about. Any other questions? You guys good? You guys all right? All right. All right. I guess that's it. No questions for me. I just apparently wowed them. Huh? All right. No, seriously, no questions? We talked a lot about DMAs. We talked about ad fund.
I'm kind of curious
Yeah.
as to, you said YOLO,
Mm-hmm.
and I've kind of dealt with YOLO
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Yeah.
And Reach Local, and
Mm-hmm.
so I finally went to a private.
Yeah.
What's that?
Wasn't a good outcome, was it?
Which one?
Reach Annual.
YOLO was definitely not a good, I mean, for
Mm-hmm.
me,
Yeah.
Reach, problem with Reach was it was very hard to really analyze what it was costing us.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, you have to be careful. I mean, listen, that was a suggested partner we have with them now. Everyone's gonna. The funny thing about the internet and internet marketing is everyone's going to tell you that they've got the best widget or their algorithms. They're salespeople, right? They're always going to try to sell you. I would just say whatever you end up doing is just use caution, and we have a digital manager who's fabulous, who does a really good job helping franchisees to say, look, if you're going to use XYZ company, come to me first, and I'll tell you the questions that you should ask them to make sure that you get what you want out of the, out of the outcome. He's just a fabulous resource, and I know the franchisees, a lot of our franchisees have called him and asked. In fact, he puts out a monthly sort of a newsletter, and one of the topics was just that, as how do you select a local company? If so, what are the things, kind of the do's and don'ts around that?
So
I would just use caution. That's all.
You don't really get involved in that with the franchisees. You don't assist them in.
You don't manage the internet listing is what you're saying.
Well, kind of, sort of, because I'm not really that fine-tuned mentally into it.
Right.
But my question is, I'm still, as a franchisee, I'm still going to be doing all that stuff myself.
Yes and no. Yes, from the local standpoint, we at this point we're not taking over individual franchisees' SEM, right? So franchisee would still be doing his or her own SEM. On the Yes perspective, yes, we are here to help and give you the guidance. So like on the Yodel side, currently there are a vendor that we use, and we guide them, we give them direction. They have our branded websites, they have our pages, so it's all free for the franchisees. They'll get you set up. They have their individual consultants, so they'll work one-on-one with the franchisees to help guide them and get their program set up. But as far as, individual management of every single franchisee's location site, no, not necessarily. Someday could I see that? I mean, listen, remember the brands that I came from, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, they didn't have, 5,000 websites for every franchisee, they had one. But understand that business is dramatically different, right? That business is, when people go to those sites, it's more about, gee, where's a location, and how do I find a location? And the other one big there is nutritional content. I just had a donut, what do we get? Completely different user experience than what we're talking about here, right? So there is this element that needs to remain local, back to what you're saying, that you operate here. There's that element that still needs to be there for you. So our job for you would be to help give you that guidance, help give you that, we have people there to help guide you and ask the right questions and get you set up in the way you want.
As far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
marketing is all about, I spend X amount of dollars on the marketing, and this is my return. And I need to be able to gauge that. And one of my big problems I have with marketing is I have a real hard time doing that.
Yep.
Google Analytics, this is not my business. My business is the mechanical business.
Yep.
So I'm now
Yeah.
involved in a whole different
Yeah.
industry, and I'm putting it out there because I'm asking this question.
Yeah.
Because it's really not what I do good,
Right.
right? And
That's right.
I'm challenged with it.
Yeah.
I'm challenged with it daily,
Right.
okay? And, so there's really nothing gonna really, except for some guidance, I'm not gonna get much help from this organization, from this.
Well, I think the biggest difference is that let's try to break it apart. So you now have tools and assets that are available, right? That earlier you said you didn't have or you didn't do. Certainly all those things are now available, right? Well, no, you're just talking about online, right? I'm just talking about marketing in general. So in marketing in general, so you have a whole suite of assets and tools that are just now unlocked and available. All those things that I shared with you, whether it's TV, radio, blah, whatever it is. So that's probably a big difference today. The other difference today is who would you go to today if you were struggling? Like if you wanted to know those things, what's good, what's this?
Well, that's a problem.
Right, that's a problem. You don't have someone. So
I only do salesmen.
and the salesmen are good, right? Because why? Because they like to sell stuff.
I have a hard time selling.
Well,
Now you have a branded consultant.
that's what I'm saying. Now you have someone who's in the trenches that are there to help guide you and do, to be there and be that resource for you that you don't have today, right? You don't have someone to go to. Someone's got your back to say, boy, I got this salesman over here who's trying to sell me this widget, and this widget he says is kicking butt. How do I really know, right? To answer your question, how do I know that this is good? And that's why having that resource background that I shared, that's why that's a good thing, right? Because now you have a whole team of people. It's not just me, but the whole team of people and the agencies that are back there to help and guide and support you. That's a big thing. And certainly, I mean, I feel for it because I used to be a franchisee and I used to sit in the same chair going, well, it's all on me, right? It's all on you right now. And who answers the questions? Who answers the phone? Who's running the business? You, and you. Well, and maybe you probably help.
That's all very true, but my that's getting off from the subject. My problem is I don't have that expertise, and with this, I would get some expertise with some help. Okay, because I'm really into the analysis of profitability.
Yep.
And marketing is a
Yep.
tool to
For
make
sure.
profitability. And it's very difficult to gauge your marketing dollars
Yep.
as to what it's returning to you.
Yep.
Do you follow what I'm saying?
Well,
That's where I have a-
No, you're right, and I think we have a lot of tools. I'm sure you talked about Successware and being able to tap into monitors, down to the revenue, right? So we can, and we do, like for example, on the company-owned stores, we'll track from when that piece goes in the mail all the way down to what kind of revenue it generated, right? So it's not just. I feel like I'm just talking about marketing, but it's bigger than marketing. It's the rest of the tools. Are you tracking the results through call cap? Are you tapping into Successware to track that sale all the way down? Because now you have the ability to take from that moment that call comes in and track it all the way down to see where that call went, right? What happened on that call? Did it translate into a sale, and if so, what kind of sale was it?
Can I add something?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm a franchisee, and it's like I'm listening to myself 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But basically, in the way, what's your name again, sir?
Bob,
Bob. You sound like a very macro guy. I'm the same way.
A what?
Think to me, macro.
Oh,
Thinking about everything, and how it does what it does.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, you just want a call to come in, and you want a call to come in. You want your people to be able to convert that call, because your ROI, the return on your investment in marketing or anything you spend money, it doesn't mean anything if everything that's involved in turning that dollar into something happens. I mean, bottom line, that's what it boils down to. So, I can tell you from my point of view, for instance, I'm not a marketing guy at all. I just track the stuff. I watch what happens when the call comes in, where it goes. I watch it on the front end of my dollar spent for the actual ad piece. When it got into my system and I want to try to convert it, how the people were receptive to that particular piece of marketing, and then what kind of dollars came to me at the end. That's not rocket science, it's just numbers. But back to performance, the DMA deals there, the marketing ad fund that we ran this past quarter in April and May, I will tell you, most of us are very resistant to having that extra money come out because it's almost at 2%.
2%.
And have those dollars come out of our pockets. But I can tell you from my point of view, when that happened, and I'm going somewhere with, I promise, when that happened, those 2-month period, it was amazing to me how Yellow came in and from a national level came down to our local markets and produced the numbers they produced in call volume and performance in that short time. That was just amazing to me. I'm with a couple other REITs, Web.com is who I'm really with right now, but they performed outstandingly well, but it took them 7 to 8 months to do it, and the expertise of the people that corporates use to handle this for us, because I don't know anything about it, the proof is right there. So I almost tell you, you got to take a leap of faith. When they tell you they know what they're doing, I'm not getting paid to do any of it. I'm just telling you this is my experience, and this is why I'm so sold on the franchise, because there's people here that do this every day. That's what they do, and part of what you buy, you just got to believe this is it. Commit to it, and these guys know what's going on. And it's a really big deal, and great things are coming. I know they're coming, and it's just the stuff you'll see. And once you get in, you'll understand because you'll see it happen right before your eyes. It's a big deal.
But I think, Bob, what you're getting to is today you don't have traceability to your marketing spend, right?
Yes.
To where I
Well-
spent this much, I have no idea if it worked.
no, the problem is, I am getting that, and I'm getting much more intelligent about it. But you get to a point where there's only so much you want to learn, where, you're learning things that you really don't want to learn, I mean, I want to run my business, I want it to be profitable, I want to go to QuickBooks and hit report and see what's going on.
You want to go to Successware.
Okay, that's all words, that's all words,
Right.
okay? I don't have that ability. Now I have to sort of analyze